Hello everyone and welcome back to Exam Prep Solutions, and today we have a video going over the top 5 tips to pass the FE exam in 2023. If you're able to execute these 5 things, there's a really good shot you're going to pass your FE civil exam and have no problem with it. You can find other practice problems right here on the channel covering a variety of topics related to the FE exam and also really important test taking strategies that you're going to want to utilize when studying for your exam. It is a daunting task and we want to help you prepare it in the best way possible. Well, let's get into these 5 tips now. So tip number 1 is learn about the FE civil exam specifications, and you can find this on the NCES website. The specifications are what kinds of problems and how many of them are going to appear on the FE civil exam. So if you don't know what topics to study, this is the first place that you're going to want to go to. It's going to give you an idea of what kinds of questions they're going to be asking and what you may need to do to study for them. Just like any other test you would take, you're going to want to have a good idea of what kind of questions are going to be asked and how many of them. So if we go here, we can see that these are the FE civil exam specifications for the FE civil exam, and it's going to be covering 14 different topics and have about 110 questions. And this is the question range for each topic. So for mathematics and statics, there's going to be 8 to 12 questions on the exam. Ethics and professional practice, there's 4 to 6. In economics, there's 5 to 8. Statics, there's going to be about 8 to 12. Dynamics, 4 to 6. Mechanics and materials, 7 to 11. Materials, 5 through 8. Fluid mechanics, 6 through 9. Surveying, 6 through 9. Water resources and environmental engineering has 10 through 15. Structural engineering has 10 through 15. Geotechnical engineering has 10 through 15. Transportation has 9 through 14. And then construction engineering has 8 to 12 questions. So this is the question range. When studying, I always assume sort of maybe the middle value. So when I was studying for the test or I'm helping others, I assume that there's probably going to be about 10 construction engineering questions. It means it's going to be about 8 to 9% of the total test questions. And if you look at a topic here, like ethics and professional practice, well, on average, there's going to be about 5 questions on the exam, meaning that's going to be a pretty small portion of the test, 4 to 5%. And so this kind of teaches us where we should put our resources when studying for the exam, and the different topics that can appear. So for example, in statics, you're going to have to learn about resultants of force systems, equivalent force systems, equilibrium of rigid bodies, frames and trusses, centroid of an area moments of inertia, and static friction. So these are all the potential topics that can be on there. Doesn't mean they have to be on there, but it's likely that you're going to see maybe one question at least on each of the topics and multiple of some of the other topics. So those are the civil exam specifications. The link is in the description to find where to find that on the NCES website. You're going to want to check that out for your test. Now, tip number 2, purchase a FE civil practice exam on the NCES website. And this is the important part. You want to get it from the NCES website. There are a lot of practice exams out there, and some of them are good, some of them are not so good. You want to go directly to the source, especially when you're first starting. You may want to branch out to other practice exams. That's totally fine. You're going to want more practice problems, so I understand that. But for now, you're just going to want to go to the NCES website, purchase their practice exam. It actually used to be a little bit expensive. Now you can download it and take it digitally and just get a digital copy. I think it's like $30. It used to be a little more expensive. It'd take a couple weeks to ship, at least to where I was. But now you can download it digitally and get started right now for $30. It's a steal. This is a must-have and a must-do for you for studying for your test. It gives you a feel for what kind of questions are going to be on the FE exam. So you can see there, for $30, you can get a digital download. You can get a physical copy as well. I had a physical copy. I like to carry it around. But if you're on a budget, just get the digital copy and start working on that right away. It gives you an idea of what kind of questions are going to be on the FE exam, but doesn't explicitly say like these questions will be on the exam. I think I did have one question from that original practice test that made it onto the exam, and a couple more questions that were in similar style to some of the questions on the practice exam. But don't bank on the practice exam questions actually being on the exam. That's not really how they do it. But it gives you a feel for the style that they ask the question, some of the options they give you, some of the answers they give you, some of the strategies that they're going to use when asking these questions. And it's the best way to get familiar with what kind of material is going to be on the exam and the pace and time it's going to take you to complete the test. So what I would do is purchase the practice exam and then get the reference manual, which we'll talk about later, and take a practice test. You don't have to do it in one sitting. I did mine in multiple sittings, and then grade it afterwards to get a feel for where you're at with the different topics. So tip number 3, create a study plan to address your weaknesses. So you're going to want to create a study plan and focus more on topics with lots of FE exam questions. We just went over the specifications, right? And we saw that some topics had way more questions than others. And so you're going to want to put in more work into the topics that have more questions, such as structural engineering, water resources, geotechnical, statics, construction. These topics had lots of questions. And so you're going to want to spend most of your study time on that. As we saw before, engineering ethics, there's probably maybe 5 to 6 questions. That's less than 5% of the test material. So yes, you do want to study these other topics, but you're going to want to put more effort and time into those topics where you could get 13 questions, which would be over 10% of your test grade. So you also want to try to learn concepts and approaches, not memorize solutions. Memorizing solutions does you no good on this test because they have endless variations on the same problem. There's always going to be maybe a little bit of a twist to it. And so learning and memorizing a solution, it's not going to cut it for this exam. You may be able to memorize a nice bank of solutions, but if you only get 15 of those types of questions on the test and you don't know how to apply the concepts and the approaches and use your FE exam reference guide, you're going to be left out to dry on this exam. So it's better to go back if you're struggling with a topic and learn those concepts through and through from the ground up. Like if you struggle with statics, for example, like I did, I started from 101. I found a website that had Statics 101. We also have videos here about statics on this channel. And I started from the very beginning because I wanted to build a nice foundation for approaching these problems. And it really helped me to pay dividends on both my FE and PE exams. So try to learn the concept and approaches to these problems. Do not look in the back and just memorize the solution. It's not going to work. Identify topics that you are capped out at quickly. So this is another test studying strategy. I have a video about how to study for your test and how to approach this in a way that is strategic and makes sense. But if there's topics that just you've always struggled with, for example, let's say you're not good at geotechnical engineering, you just never have gotten it, you've put a lot of time into it and it's just not working out. I would still study that topic. I would still learn a few of the bullet points there that we saw in the reference manual well. But if you know that no matter how much time you're going to put into geotechnical engineering, you're just not going to get it, then maybe you should put that one to the side for a while and find other topics that you're strong at. Maybe you're really good at statics and structural engineering. Great. Why don't you go all out on those topics? Try to get all those questions to make up for your weaknesses in geotechnical engineering. It's a great strategy and it can absolutely work. So this is just sort of outlining what maybe you want to put your effort into to best take the test. Because like I said before in another video, the goal is not to get all the questions right. The goal is to get enough questions right to pass the test. And that can come in many different forms. Tip number 4, refine your skills with practice problems. You want to find a comprehensive resource for taking practice problems. This channel is a great place to start. We got a bunch of practice problems on here and more coming down the pipeline. And you can also request problem types and we'll do them for you. There are lots of practice problems on the internet, and this is both a bad and good thing. There are some sources that I think are probably trustworthy. I'm not going to necessarily name them here, but there's ones that I think do provide good practice problems and would be worth taking. But there are a lot of practice tests out there. Some of them just do not have the problems that you're looking for, or they're too difficult, or they're not updated to the latest standards. And so you want to find 2 or 3 solid, reliable sources that you get your practice problems from. There's some good sources out here on YouTube, and there's some other ones that I've taken before that I've discussed in other videos that I do like their banks of problems. But it is important to find a nice bank of problems to practice. You want to see, I wouldn't say that the goal is to take as many practice problems as possible. That's not what I'm saying. But you want to find problems that tackle the different topics of the FE exam, point out your weaknesses so you can study them and then learn them even better. Now, tip number 5, and this is a really important tip, learn the FE handbook backwards and forwards. And I mean, this could be tip number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in this situation here. I mean, this one is so important. You want to learn this FE handbook so well. And you can download that from the NCES website. I'll put a link for that in the description box. But you can solve 90 to 95% of the problems on the exam by using the FE handbook. Some of the questions are conceptual and they're just, you know it or you don't. It's things you learned in college or you didn't. Too bad you're out of luck if you don't know it. That's just the situation. But most of the problems that you can solve through calculations, you can get the equation from the FE handbook. So the faster you can move through the FE handbook, the quicker you're going to be able to find the equation, the more time you're going to have to solve the solution, and then the more time you have to go on to the next problem. Another important part is you want to have it out digitally while you attempt every practice problem, because on the FE exam, you don't get a copy. You don't get a physical copy. It's going to be digital. And it's a little wonky how it's set up. You kind of have to type in your topic and then search for it. It's not exactly set up like a PDF where you can control F. So I would go take their sample exam on the NCES website. They have a sample exam of like 10 questions that kind of shows you how taking the exam works and how exactly that environment would be. But you want to download this handbook. I mean, I got to a point where the FE and PE exams where I knew where specific equations were on parts of pages, and I knew the page number. Like I had it memorized because I'd done it so many times. It's just going to save you a lot of time and more time that you can take to figuring out a solution and solving a problem and using your mental energy to do that than flipping through pages on the FE manual trying to find a pretty simple equation because you didn't spend enough time in the manual. You're going to want to dedicate more of those times to solving solutions. So know this manual the handbook backwards and forwards, and it's going to pay dividends. And then you want to take notes on what pages certain equations are located on. You don't get to take this into the test, of course, but take some notes on it so that you know that these equations are here, these equations are here, and slowly over time you'll be able to memorize those locations. And now we have a bonus tip for you. Here's the bonus tip. We have a free gift for you. We have the 5 steps to solving any FE exam problem guide. Okay, this is a comprehensive guide. Gives you 5 steps, a great approach for solving any FE exam problem. You can download that in the description box down below. It's 100% free. Just tell us where to send it. Anyways, that is the video. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment in the description down below. And we will see you guys in the next video.